my topic today will be around design and biology because I'm a plant scientist by training. And one of the key years that I'll always remember is the year 2000. Why was it really special to me? Was because I was excited about this show. And I'll never forget in the show, the starting of the show, there's this US Senator Robert Kelly announcing mutants are among us. We must know who they are and what they can do. And the year 2000 was also the first year I took biology. And my biology teacher had to tell me, mutants are not X-Men. And after she X'd the X-Men, I was thinking, oh, what are mutants? And she shared with us that mutants are actually anomalies in the system, features that deviated from what is common or seen as a norm, where the genetic code or the DNA code is randomly changed at points or recombined with other DNA. And to me, when I was first listening to it, it felt really wrong because it wasn't a norm. And one question I always had in my head, are mutations necessarily bad? And it turns out we have diversity, biodiversity, because of mutations. They drive evolution, they drive speciation, and they produce what you see on the screen right now. It's about 4 billion years worth of innovation and creativity that we are still trying to adapt in our products and services through biomimicry. But what can we learn from nature that can allow the creation of these multiple species and bring to our own innovation and creativity process? First up is definitely accepting that mutants are okay. Abnormalities are okay. These point mutations that you see kickstart the varying features and species that we have on Earth. In agriculture, sometimes abnormalities or mutations are loved and cultivated, but this always have trade-offs. Sewell Wright, an early geneticist, actually in his experiments, found that guinea pigs, when the mutations make it good for meat production, not very good for milk. The reverse is true. Another thing around mutation, I mean, about what nature has when it comes to creativity, is actually applying the right selection pressure. In nature, mutants, normal species alike, all face selection pressure. And this selection pressure selects the best that can survive. Those finches that you see on the right side, they have different size and shape beaks, which are highly adapted to different food sources available to them. Another example are the peppered moths in the UK. Initially, the black moths that you see on the left, they are actually selected against because they could easily be picked up by birds because they stand out from against the trees. But during the industrial revolution, when the trees were soot covered, the black moths camouflage very well. And if you see these graphs over here, apart from adding wing color, if you were to add another feature called wing sizes, you'll probably see the graph looking like this, where the population actually moves up because of the selection pressure towards the portion or the species type that is actually best fit for the context. And you can see from this graph that there are actually multiple solutions, multiple species type that can actually exist in the same context, in the same environment. And that is the same for our ideas, for our solutions. This graph that you see is actually called the adaptive landscape, and not all landscapes are single peak. And they can actually be two or more peaks that can arise because of complex interactions amongst genes. You'll be wondering, okay, Kelvin, you've been talking about mutants, about genes, but what are the situations that can allow for great species diversity? And I'll be sharing this thing called the intermediate disturbance hypothesis, where in the center of it, the right selection pressure, the right level of disturbance actually allow a lot of species to thrive. And it actually provides the best species diversity. And where can we find these spaces? These places can actually be found in Singapore. And this is a picture of Singapore's intertidal waves, where actually the coral reefs in Singapore actually represent about a third of the global richness, despite the space actually occupying only just 10 square kilometers of space. Another thing is around passing these traits down or passing on fitness. Fitness in this case doesn't mean physical fitness. It actually means two other things. It means that the traits must be able to pass down and the species must survive long enough to reproduce. And I think like what the previous speaker has mentioned, human-centered implementation. And that is actually why cancer can never be selected against or evolve out of, because the cancer's traits are only expressed at old age, and by then people have already reproduce. And if there are actually situations where you realize just now the three different things I mentioned around mutation, selection pressure, as well as fitness, they all are reliant on existing libraries of genes. What if we want to make an evolutionary leap? There's actually a process called symbiosis that we can tap on. And I think one of the main examples is around photosynthesis. The photosynthetic abilities are actually achieved in the early plant cells when photosynthetic bacteria are actually assimilated. And our example are fig trees or fig plants, where the fig fruits actually have a symbiotic relationship with the fig flies. What does it mean? All this mean for innovation. First, do not kill off mutations too early. They might exist in the fringes, but do not try to kill this off and be accepting sometimes to these abnormal ideas or these abnormal mutants. Apply the right amount of selection pressure for the various ideas because too much selection pressure might kill off an idea prematurely. And if those ideas are killed off, learn from the failed mutations. If they pass, figure out how can they be handed down even after this you leave or after the creative process. And lastly, if you do not have a current library of ideas that you can tap on, think about how you can help others and so that they can help you with your ideas and achieve a symbiotic relationship. And taking what Raven has actually mentioned in X-Men First Class, never forget, mutant and proud. Thank you very much.